1912. There was a string of axe murders along railway tracks in the Midwest. One person in particular was a suspect, but not enough evidence pinned him to all of the murders. This is the story of Henry Lee Moore. Hello, good morning. It is Tuesday, March 19th, and I am here with episode 99 of Kelly's Coffee and Crime Chat. I am just amazed. Again, I say it every time. Now, episode 98 is on Patreon and Spotify Premium, and that is the story of Roseanne Quinn, which was the Looking for Mr. Goodbar story. And this one is now 99, but I am amazed that I am almost up to 100. And I know I deleted a few in there, but I also have an extra episode in there that's not numbered, so it kind of evens out a little bit. But I'm just amazed I'm up to this high on almost 100 episodes. This is kind of going to be a continuation, a little bit of the Villisca Axe murders. So I am drinking my Java Mama peanut butter egg. Again, chocolate peanut butter. That is my favorite. And of course, I've already talked about that. But I just wanted to let everybody know our Easter collection. Well, Easter is March 31st. So, of course, the Easter collection is still up. So, but I am going to go ahead with this one. This is Henry Lee Moore. And my sources are wikipedia.org, murderpedia.org, both of them. My cough is still hanging on, so excuse me if I cough, clear my throat, it's still hanging on. I talked about Henry Lee Moore in the last episode, so of the axe murders, so I wanted to kind of dig more into that case as well. And I'm going to be talking about some other of the other cases that happened through the Midwest. So, Henry Lee Moore was born November 1st, 1874 in Boone County, Missouri, which is outside Columbia, Missouri. His parents were Enoch and Georgia Wilson. Now, his dad died before 1910, and he had two brothers, and I think they were twins. I was going to write their names down and I forgot because the names were similar. It just seemed like twin names to me. So I don't know if they were babies or what, but so they died before 1910. So he still had one brother, Charles, who lived until 1960. He worked as a blacksmith assistant in car shops, and this was along Wabash Railroad. He had an odd hobby. He liked going to morgues in St. Louis and just view the bodies. He would just go to the morgues and just look at the bodies. He also kept a lot of newspaper clippings that covered many murder cases, like many high profile, like serial killer murder cases. He was arrested for forgery in 1910. Now, I never heard exactly what he forged, but he had many women pen pals. I don't know if he was writing letters and said, or if he forged checks. I don't know. I just heard it was forgery. He served a year in prison for that, and he was paroled in 1911. So, it wasn't very long for that forgery. He lived with his mother and grandmother. Now, he got a job at the railroad. Now, for some reason, he left the area between winter of 1911 and summer of 1912. I don't know if that was his job on the railroad, or he had the railroad job when he got back. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking he had the railroad job when he came back. Maybe he left to try to find work and then just ended up coming back. But he started writing a girl in Columbia, Missouri who was 16 years old. Her name was Queenie Nichols. She didn't stay corresponding with him since he still lived at home with Mom. Smart girl. He told her that that house would be his soon, plus all the money that they had in it would be his. So he went to a hotel by train, and this was in Columbia. He went to Columbia, and because they lived right outside Columbia, I guess. So I don't know exactly how far it was, but he registered under the name L. Smith. And the next night, which was December 17th of 1912, he snuck back into his mom's house. And then he snuck into his mom's house with an axe. And the axe had a broken handle, and it was old and rusty. And Georgia, his mom, was 63 at the time, and she was putting ointment on her joints. She was in a chair when she got blows to her head and neck. And I'm thinking he came up behind her, from what my understanding is. But he struck her with the axe in her head and neck. And then he went to his grandmother's bedroom, Mary Wilson, 82 years old. He did the same with her while she slept. He left and threw the axe in a ditch. He cleaned up at his hotel, but he didn't do a good job. There was still blood left behind on the bed and all over him and his clothes. I mean, not all over, but there was blood left on his clothes. He went back home the day after and, quote unquote, discovered his mom and grandma. He called the neighbors, and then the police came. And he was arrested right away since they learned that he was at this hotel under an assumed name. And he left blood behind in that hotel. He claimed he was innocent. He said he just got home to celebrate Christmas from being out of town at school, at a college. Now, he also said it was his first time. It was his first time ever getting in trouble, ever getting arrested or being in jail. And you know that's a lie. And he also denied ever visiting morgues and looking at bodies, because they already heard about that he was in St. Louis doing that. And the prosecuting attorney said that they had witnesses to connect him to the double murder of his mom and grandma. And they believed he was a drug addict. I don't know what that had to do with it. Maybe they thought he wanted money for drugs, I guess. And they found out he was not a student away at college. You know, they do have a way of finding that out, even in 1912. Henry Lee Moore was found guilty on March 14th. The trial was 4 days, and 80 jurors. I thought maybe that was a typo. 80 jurors? I'm like, wow, why so many? I don't know. I mean, that just really confused me. So anyway, he got life in prison. Like I said, I don't think it was a typo, but I don't know. He was paroled in 1949 by Governor Forrest Smith. Paroled. And he got commuted. His sentence was commuted, and that was July of 1956. So basically, he got out in 1956. So he only had just over 40 years. Why is that? I don't get that at all. I never found out why. Now, this is what they were talking when everybody was talking about him being a serial killer, and he was linked to other murders. He was linked, meaning people thought, he was responsible. September 17th, 1911. Mary Alice Burnham and her two kids, Nellie and John, in Colorado Springs. He was seen in this area. They lived on Dale Street. He was seen in this area. Then he wasn't right after the murders of Mary and her two kids. Or May. I got May written. May Alice Burnham. I don't know if that's a typo. Sometimes I write so fast, but he was seen in this area, and then he wasn't after it happened, but he was alibied by Kansas State Reformatory Superintendent, who said he was home during that time because he was corresponding with him. Well, how does he know he was home if he was corresponding with him? I mean, you can just put a return address on a envelope if he was writing him, But Henry Wayne and his wife Blanche and their 18-year 18-month-old daughter, Lula, were murdered in their Harrison Place home. Now, they lived right behind the Burnhams. Arthur Burnham, the husband of Mary Alice, was suspected, and he was even arrested, but he was alibied. He was in a sanitarium suffering from tuberculosis, and he passed away shortly after this happened, so he could not have done it. Monmouth, Illinois, October of 1911. M.E. Dawson, his wife and daughter were killed with an axe. And I'm pretty sure the other couple, the people in Colorado Springs were also murdered with an axe. It didn't say, but these were all similar murders. October 1911, Ellsworth, Kansas. William Showman, his wife, and 3 children were also killed with an axe. June of 1912, Paola, if I'm saying this right, Paola, Kansas. Roland Hudson and his wife were killed with an axe. Then after this was the Villisca axe murders in Iowa, June of 1912. He was all speculated to be connected to these. Now, they nicknamed this killer, and there's an actual Wikipedia page on the killer called Billy the Axeman. They just named this person that. It was like a phantom. Phantom meaning they don't know who it is. So Billy the Axeman is a person who hops trains, and he can leave a crime scene lickety-split, just like he arrived. And that's what they think. They think the person was hopping the trains because it all happened along railway tracks. 2 other murders. The Hill family of Ardenwall, Oregon. William, 34. Ruth, 33, his wife. And then her 2 kids from a previous marriage, Philip, 9, and Dorothy, 4, were all killed in their beds by blows to the head with an axe. Their neighbor was charged but acquitted. The killer covered the victims' faces with the Villisca axe murders. If you listen to the last episode, it had that the killer would cover their faces and cover them up so that they weren't looking at him. And that's what this person did in Oregon. Now, this was in Oregon, so this is pretty a lot further. The Coble family, or Cobble family, I think it's Coble because there's only one B, of Rainier, if I'm saying that right, Rainier, Washington. July of 1911, Archie Coble, 28, and his wife Nettie, 18, were murdered in the same way in their beds. Like Villisca, Archie was covered and an oil lamp was used with the chimney. The chimney and the oil lamp had blood on it. It was not removed as with the Villisca axe murders, but it had been messed with. So Nettie, the only thing different here though, Nettie was pulled toward the bottom of the bed and she had been assaulted. And it said that she had been assaulted after she died. One person was convicted of this, George Wilson, who was Archie Coble's work foreman, but many doubt he committed the crime. I don't know why, but he was convicted. People say he didn't do it. These murders are unsolved, and they all happened with about the same times if you go through the trail of them. So it's like they went from Washington and Oregon all the way to Monmouth, Illinois. I just thought this was very interesting, and that they named, I don't know why they named this person Billy the Axeman, but that was what they came up with, I guess. But I wanted to tell this story. I know this was kind of a short one, but I wanted to tell this story because I found it very interesting and how it could be linked to the story I did last week. So I know this didn't really come as anything, but I wanted to tell the story of Henry Lee Moore and what he did. He lied all the time. You didn't really know, and there was no DNA, You didn't really know if he was even telling the truth about anything. And who knows if he was responsible, but still people say with the Villisca axe murders that it was the man who worked for the father. I can't think of his name because they were also the Moore family, but this is no relation. no relation to the Moore family of Villisca. And he was, they still think it's the employee that the guy had, that he worked for. If I can remember his name, you have to go back and listen to the Villisca axe murders, but there was one person that they still say did it. And even the family members, the father of the two little girls who were staying overnight, that was not related to them, Stillinger, he also said that that person did it. So just go back and listen to that one if you haven't. It'll kind of put some things in perspective, and I kind of talk a little bit about Henry Lee Moore in that one too. And I wish there was more on these stories, because I would do another episode and make it like a, I don't know, like a series or something, but I don't have any other information on these other murders. And I know back in 1912 it was hard because, like I said, no DNA. They just got to go by what they found in the house. Excuse me. I need to get a drink coffee here. But I wanted to go ahead and get this out for early access because I am going to be busy the rest of the week. I have to go back to work. I'm going to go back to work. My dad's in the hospital, so I'm probably going to have very, very little time at home during the week. So the weekends are probably going to be my best time, and I want to make sure that I get these episodes out. And I'll probably have to go back. I'll definitely have to go back to recording at night. Or in the evening times. So, excuse me. Again, if anybody has any suggestions, I'll leave my email, Instagram, Facebook, everything in the show notes, so you can get a hold of me if you have any suggestions for anything in the Midwest. I like these old-timey ones because the only thing that's bad about these old-timey ones, a lot of them go unsolved because of evidence. So, you know, technology was not like it was back then. But I have been listening to the podcast called 3, and it is the story about Skylar Neese, who was murdered by her 2 friends, quote unquote, best friends in high school. And she snuck out with them thinking they were going to go somewhere, and they ended up killing her. But her dad is on there talking, and a couple people that are, you know, the neighbor and a couple people in the area are on there talking about it, and it's really good. There's 6 episodes up now, and of course I listened to all of them, so I'm waiting on episode 7. But it's a good one. That story is so sad. I mean, I thought of covering it on Patreon because it's not in the Midwest, but I thought of covering it on Patreon, but I'm not sure because a lot of podcasts cover it. I would rather have you just listen to this one because it goes in depth about the story, and it's such a sad one. But I've got a couple other ones here planned. I just always open to suggestions, even ones I haven't heard about. So I have been listening to that, and I've been listening to Popcorn and Ketchup, of course, for the movies, and they just did Lethal Weapon 2, because they do movies that they haven't seen, but they're older, and it's funny to hear what they say about it, all the different movies, but I really enjoy that one. So Love, Marry, Kill just put out a new one. And it sounds really good. And it's one I have not heard of. I'm going to listen to it. I can't remember the couple's name or the woman's name. But I really like that episode or podcast. And still listening to all of my favorites. Death Do Us Part just did Dimebag Darrell from Pantera. Very interesting. Gosh, I remember that. That was just... that was a shocking one. It was actually people... I didn't realize that many people had died in that shooting. But again, if anybody has any suggestions, go ahead and drop them somewhere and get a hold of me. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else I watched on Max. And I know I just talked about something on Patreon, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, I watched Pathological. I think that's the name of it. The documentary on Joran van der Sloot from the one that killed Natalie Holloway and then killed that other girl in Peru. It's actually really good. It talks about more in detail of what he did and how they caught him and all the things that he lied about. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Pathological is the right title for this. I think it's on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a pretty good one. But I haven't been doing much watching TV as much because I've been going to the hospital, and it's now work's coming back. I'm going to be going back to work, so that's going to be cutting into a lot. So I'm going to do my best to get these out because I really want to tell these stories, and I really like doing this podcast. So it's actually one of the things that I'm very, very dedicated to, and so that is all for today. Everybody have a wonderful week. Easter's coming up. At least I got some vacation time off in April, so that'll be nice to be home, have more time. So everybody have a wonderful week, and I am going to sign off and hopefully get one in for next week at Early Access. And this will be on the podcast on Friday, the 22nd. Yeah, Friday the 22nd. I will upload it on the podcast. So that is all for today. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Stay safe. Hug your loved ones, your pets, your kids, your parents, everybody. And I will see you next time.